Hey everybody, it's me, JTJ, coming at you with another King of the Hill review. This Today's episode I'm going to be reviewing is Hank's Got a Case of the Willies. The director of this episode is Moat Young. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but if I'm not, I apologize and I will correct myself if he does other episodes in the future. And the supervising director, once again, is Leslie Archer. Damn, how many episodes does this guy supervise the directing of? Am I right? Huh? And the main writers of this episode is Greg Daniels and Mike Judge. And the guy who mainly wrote this episode is Johnny Hardwick, and he also staff wrote this episode, as well as Jim Dotrieve. And now I'm going to get into the best part about this episode is the guest stars. We have Dennis Hopper, and last but not least, the great legendary musician Willie Nelson. Yes, Willie Nelson's in this episode. That's not just some guy playing Willie Nelson. He's not the first, well, actually, he is the first musician, but he isn't the last to guest star on King of the Hill. But we'll get into that later, because there is a lot of not going to say much more. I'm just going to say as famous musicians who guest star on this show. So, this episode is basically about Hank Hill trying to find Bobby somebody to emulate, somebody to look up to. And this episode's basically about Hank thinking about his own hero, Willie Nelson, in the process. And we start off this episode with Hank having a good dream about playing golf with his hero, Willie Nelson. And, he wakes up to Bobby playing the guitar with Cheese. And then Hank asks, why would you play Betsy with Cheese? And he's like, I'm trying to be like Celery Head, which is clearly a parody of the legendary, but I don't think he's all that great, Carrot Top. And then Hank interrupts Bobby from a video game to ask him who his hero is, and Bobby says this guy who's good at video games. And this is the part of the episode where pragmatic Addic makes a cameo.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good Lord!
Don't associate me with that fucking freak!
I was just joking. Oh, okay.
Do not associate me with that fucking freak!
Okay, I won't associate with you with him.
I am not a Howard!
You're not a Howard!
He's a dead man!
Between you and me, the guy kind of does look a little bit like pragmatic Addic. Anyway, and we find out the freak's name is Howard Adderley. Because Bobby also looks up to that freak. Well, not that anyone looked up to that freak. I hope no one else looks up to that freak. Maybe the gamers of today can take a lesson from this sicko's book and maybe learn to read a book once in a while or do something healthy. Anyway, moving on, we get on to Peggy's story of the episode where she's just jealous of a guitar. I kid you not, she's jealous of a guitar for 20 minutes. And you see her rant about it the entire episode. And she even names a brush Carlos. Not gonna lie, cool name for a brush. I wish I had a brush named Carlos. But I'm not gonna go naming a brush Carlos. That feels like It's very derivative, and I'm not going to be derivative. Anyway, we get into the part of the episode where Hank takes Bobby golfing, and Bobby accidentally throws a golf club at Willie Nelson. And then Willie Nelson asks the obvious question any of us should ever ask if we're hit in the head by a golf club.
Lord, are you okay?
Am I bleeding from the ears?
Yeah, that's right. He asked that question, which is the obvious question you should always ask. And then we get into the part of the episode where Bobby tries to make it up to Hank Hill by taking his guitar to get signed by Willie Nelson. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty cool thing for a son to do for his dad. Pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Wish I had a son to do something like that for me. But anyway, we get into the part where Bobby meets Willie Nelson and then invites Hank over to also meet Willie Nelson, and then it turns out there's a huge barbecue with all these famous celebrities and all that, which none of them make a cameo. I can confirm that for you. The voice of Bob Dylan is not actually Bob Dylan.
I tell you what, man, you did that dang old Mr. Tambourine Man talk about did come play a song for me, then you change your name Zimmerman, y'all born again.
Well, a whole bunch of kids coming around, like Mad Dog and Denim going platinum. Who knows, accounting firms and heck, dang old boom out.
I assure you. But we do get Dennis Hopper, who makes an appearance in this episode, talking to Peggy, supporting her, and asking her if she wants him to beat up Hank, but we all know Hank would kick that guy's ass. So come on, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Dennis Hopper is a weak wimp, just like the rest of us. Well, not that everyone else is a wimp, I'm just saying. We all probably could not take a guy like Hank in a fight. Just putting that out there. Hank is not a guy you want to get in a fight with. But on the other hand, what do I know? Anyway, yeah, we get to the conclusion of the episode where Hank basically wrote a song for Peggy and he plays it with his guitar and then he kisses her. And then we get the Disney ending of Willie Nelson saying, "Good job, Luann, but next time not so much glitter." Making it look like he's like some magical being. But it's Willie Nelson, so he kind of is this magical being. So, who knows? Willie Nelson, if you're watching this video, you are a magical being, and I hope you get to be in more King of the Hill reboot episodes, maybe. I don't know. Let's hope for it. Fingers crossed. Anyway, my rating for this episode, I would give it a solid 9. I think it's a pretty fun episode. It has its moments. It's very touching. I like the guest stars and what they bring to the story. But yeah. And I like the whole hero dynamic because like we all have our heroes. And the part where Willie Nelson talks to Hank about who Bobby's real hero is kind of touching because in some ways our fathers are our heroes or fathers are heroes to their sons. But I digress. But till next time, stay tight.